you gotta create something interesting. So you can, you can't say like I woke up and everything was the same as I usually wake up, and my shoes were right where I expect them, and coffee tasted just right. But if you say, I woke up and there was a gorilla in my bed, you're definitely going to read the next sentence. Where I live is the same latitude as the southern tip of Greenland. So, like less than 1% of the human population lives this close to one of the poles. Like, it's a very cold place for a lot of the year, I guess. When writing is really good, it takes over your brain, and you start your internal monologue disappears. I don't know, there are a lot of stories that talk about the first time experiencing something.
Okay, that's good.
I've always liked those kinds of stories.
Yeah, interesting.
There's an inherent magic in them. But like to give you some of the stories are like the first time I watched porn, the first time I ate a seagull egg. Like I said, redneck shit.
Now, was that like a dare, or you walked into a restaurant, or?
No, just stupid shit. Bored. The result of boredom, like extreme boredom. You got to hook a reader, right? Like nobody has time to read, and there's so much written, so much so that you couldn't even in a lifetime read what was published last year. So you have to make it valuable to them from the get-go. I live still in a very secluded place, and there's not a lot happening, not a lot to do, and it's so dark, and it's so cold. So yeah, it's like a thing to offer the community. In essence, I secured grant money through the local library.
Wow.
So I'm being paid through the library, which is a nonprofit, to come in, and do like a small kind in-person workshop.
Oh, so this is in Alaska, or?
Yeah, it's in Alaska. So unfortunately, this time around, it won't be like something that would be offered to anyone who would just want to come along and do it. But maybe in the future, it could turn into something like if you're a new writer and you're struggling with like voice, I suppose, try to write in the voice of a sibling or a family member. You grew up around them, your whole life.
Right.
That when I was writing the book, that was the voice I was writing in was his. Beautiful cover, Joseph Rushmore. Yeah. 150-mile-per-hour winds allow for construction. Something new. Winds are good. The weak strengthens. Dead becomes new. Garbage blows away. It's really nice. It's a lot of work. I do a lot of splitting and stacking on the line level. It's like your brain doesn't have to work anymore. That person's literally like shown you every syllable, every breath you should take is there.
Right. Right. When to pause.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's more of a sitting down and a listening. Associating with others of like mind. I have a few here. Can count them on one hand. Even here, friends. Yeah, no, so for those who don't know, this is from my collection of poems, which was published by Steve. newspaper Drumsticks. And yeah, so this is a bundle of poems, all of them pulled from letters, handwritten letters that my older brother had sent me over the course of about a decade. And he's been incarcerated for that amount of time. So these are letters coming from inside a prison. And yeah, when COVID first hit and kind of like, I don't know, I was really gripped with fear there in the beginnings, and didn't even know what kind of a timeline I might have, or like what anybody might have. And so yeah, I wanted to write a book because it was something I always wanted to do, kind of before I die. Not to be morbid or anything, but anyways, yeah. So I guess thinking about it, I wanted to make something of value, and one of the most valuable things to me, I suppose, was the amount of processing and thinking through of things that Travis, that's my brother's name, Travis and I had done through those letters. They were like a hugely healing thing for me, dealing with Travis being put away. And so I read through all of the letters, and in doing so, started to realize and notice a bunch of patterns, weirdly, like almost like seasonal patterns. Like he would, fall of one year be talking literally about the exact same thing as he would have been fall 5 years later, or something like that, And so there were these weird themes, and they kind of like captured the essence of that entire timeline of our brains. Feet of those who bring good news. Communication with those I love. Delightful comfort in dark. Thank you so much for being there. It has been hot and sweaty, but it is summer. Anchorage is like a 9-hour round trip.
Wow.
From where I'm at. Alaska's huge. That's the thing. Like people can't even like conceptualize.
Yeah.
It's bigger than 2 Texases.
Wow, that's a good description.
Huge. Yeah. So yeah, I get like people are always like, I'm gonna come up and visit you. We can go fishing. I'm like, I'm like 4.5 hours from the ocean, but we can try. See, that's what's so cool is like there aren't many plants that like survive here. So if you're into like botany, you should really come out. It's the easiest place you could become a naturalist in, because there's just so few things. But yeah, everything is like highly specialized, highly adaptive, crazy strong plants and animals. Like they're jaw dropping for sure. My brother, and so voice. If you write in a way that is almost colloquial, it is not like the person's normal internal monologue. It doesn't sound like that voice. And so that's almost like a cheat code to create that instability to make them want to keep reading, because they're like, oh man, this guy or this gal thinks really different than me. I will straight up say I don't know anything. I didn't go to school for writing. I don't know a lot of writers. So all of this is just from me stumbling around and doing it my way. So I don't know if this will be helpful, but I tend to have like a bunch of ideas always swarming around. And I think there's something going on all the time. Some amount of like crafting or organizing or something's happening. Maybe not. But then when I actually sit down, that idea is like a distant, fuzzy, nondescript thing. I don't even really know what I'm going to write about most of the time. I feel very much like I'm trying to become an antenna to some like frequency out there. Yeah, just a lot of like poverty and separation and like irreality. You know, I grew, you know, like I was kind of like, I'm an old millennial, so you know, I grew up kind of before internet. And so I think a lot of what the stories deal with are just sort of that like primal scream of being so separated from it all. Because yeah, Oklahoma is like literally like the middle of the country. So all of the trends.
I'm sorry, the middle of the
country.
Oh, right. Okay.
And so every trend, you know, be it music or whatever I was interested in, always started on the coasts, and we were the last place that it made it. So Oklahoma was always like hanging on to these decades-old trends. We were these like weird, just didn't know what we were doing ever. And so yeah, that's kind of that's kind of what sums up the book a bit. So no, I'm really excited about that. These are kind of, you know, it's going to be real different than newspaper drumsticks, if that's all a reader is familiar with, I would say. But still writing that hones in on the line level. So like highly edited. There was a letter in my bed. There was a letter in my bed. There was a letter in my bed. And, so what I did is I would sit down and I would gather these bundles of letters from all of these different years, all dealing with the same subject. And I would kind of, out of the essence of that energy, write a poem. And so each one in the book kind of comes from that space. And I wanted it to be kind of like a thing that's hard to grasp fully, I guess. And I was always trying to keep it within the strictures of the book itself, kind of reading like a letter. If you sat down and you were to read it from cover to cover.
It's very intimate.
Yeah, in that way. And also to capture prison life kind of in its entirety. The comedy and the tedium and sadness and all of it. But I think if anything, what brings readers to it, or what has resonated, or if at all, is probably just, like I was saying, the value that I saw in his words, mostly, books are like one of the longest standing human things. And it's like just totally because people love books.
Yeah.
And reading so much. It's not because of like money or anything. People like books are here because they've been fought for to be here, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
We're all.
Can you maybe talk a bit about one particular reader of your book who may have been very involved with it, who may have been very surprised?
Oh. Yeah, so my brother, who the book is about, whom it like originates from, was probably one of the last readers of the book, because how are you going to get a Word document on my computer to a print? He doesn't have access to anything, and like COVID just sprang a number of of just like infinite lockdown scenarios. And so prisoners on lockdown, they can't do anything. Like, you can't send them anything, you can't visit them, can't talk to them, etc. So, man, I did like a lot of the crafting of the whole book without him even knowing about it. And so, yes, just this October of 2021 was not when he read it, but that was the first time he and I got to see each other in over 2 years, and it was the first time since he had gotten to. And it was really, that was like the biggest compliment and validation, or, you know, anything like that from me. Was, that he said that I captured prison. That it's like all there, you know. And,
So he got a physical copy?
he did, yeah. I sent him a few. Actually, I just got a letter from him yesterday and read it. And he said that he donated 2 copies of newspaper Drumsticks to the prison library.
Oh, wow.
Hopes they help somebody somehow.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, since everything has gotten published, I think a lot of people have been buying copies and sending them to him. And then other people like sending their books to him, which is really cool. Like,
wow.
Not a lot of folks, but a couple have reached out, you know, and have felt moved to want to like give back or whatever. So yeah, that's kind of cool stuff. It seems to strike like an emotional chord for a lot of folk. And I don't know, man, I'm just always so happy anytime anybody reaches out, you know, on Twitter or Facebook or wherever. Like, anytime people actually took a moment, not a moment, like minutes out of their day to sit and craft even the smallest of something, you know, hey, this like really did this or did that, reminded me of that, this or that. It means a lot. Like, I love that stuff. Friend is a second self. To see you again soon, through your eyes. Plant mine on nature, unaltered by concrete, steel. The sky, painting, genuine. I enjoy that all the more.